Yeah, everybody left already.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
Good.
Damn, it's hot in here.
It does get very toasty.
Is it here?
Yes, in the other room.
Another bag?
It decided you get two, I guess. Mhm.
Don't stop it, Jumina. Don't stop it. Leave it alone. Don't stop it. You're on mute and everything's good because of the live stream. Don't stop it. And you're muted. All you have to do is unmute yourself when you want to go.
Should become us. See?
Eleazar, please move Barbara, Noemi Diaz. There's a lot of folks in your attendees, thing.
Thank you, Bob. We'll give it a few more minutes.
Hi, I'm here. When the
Madam-
34th comes on, I'd like to ask a couple questions about the paper license plates and such, and I have a few comments to make, okay?
Right. Thank you, Robert. On the Q&A, Bob gives us a heads up on how number one trend is behind. So there might be a few people that are coming to the meeting. Personally, I guess, right? So they'll be late.
Yeah, the number one also starting at 9:15, which is rather early. At 9:15 every night is stopping at 137th Street, and people have to then take the bus to Dyckman Street because they're doing track whatever. And I really have to say 9:15 is rather early to start that. I had to do that last night when I came home, and the buses were just jammed with people.
That does sound early.
Hmm?
That does sound early. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. There also was no transit person directing people. There were just a couple little signs in the dark on a wall. So half of the people, including myself, went in the wrong direction when we got off because there's large barricade, things on the street so you couldn't see the buses. So that also was rather difficult. And this will go on until, I think they said, if you look in the number one station at Dyckman, I think that will go on until the 4th or 5th of October. So maybe Ebenezer can call them and tell them to do a better job. That's all. That's my little bitch for the night.
It's just the beginning, Barbara.
My first bitch for the night. No, but really, it was very difficult for people last night. Very chaotic, and it was not good in the pitch dark. People wandering around. Where is it? Where is it? Not good. Not good.
Other presentation?
Yeah, at least 34 is. I believe we've reached critical mass. Therefore, we're gonna try and start our meeting at 6:35. We are recording our in YouTube and Facebook, I believe, social media that pertains to the purview of CB12. Thank you, welcome each one of you for making your presence today or tonight rather, and we are expecting to have a few one presentation from the Harlem River Community Growing, and our dear friend Bob, who's gonna do it remotely, and we're also gonna have the usual presentations from the 33rd and the 34th precincts, along with our friend from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, Jocelyn Minaya, and the community coordinator, Fernanda Lujan. In addition to that, we're also going to have our discussion on the 2025 capital and expense budget priorities. And on their doing business, we're going to discuss on our assistant chair is going to discuss the proposed resolution, which if I read it right, says public health equals
Public safety.
public safety. Love it. So we're gonna get the meeting started, and we're gonna start with our crime stats. And the first on the table is going to be Jocelyn Minaya or Fernanda Lujan. I don't know which one of you is gonna make the presentation. But floor is yours.
So good evening. I don't have crime stats for you because that's PD. That is not us. But good evening, everyone. Jocelyn Minaya from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. I hope everyone is doing well. We are now embarking today, October 1st, on Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So just want to, let you know the efforts that we're doing throughout the month and really throughout the year. Sadly, crime stats north of 96th Street are exponentially higher than anywhere else in Manhattan, and that's been the case for as long as I have been with the DA's office as well, which has been a while. Last week, we were honored to be able to participate in the 26th Annual Brides March. For those of you who are familiar or not familiar with the event, the Brides March is in honor of domestic violence victims, especially Gladys Ricard, whose murder spurred this movement. Gladys was a young woman who was getting ready to get married. She was in her home with her mom and her family, her bridesmaids, nieces, nephews. It was an all-around joyous day until her boyfriend barged into the house with a gun and shot and killed her in her wedding dress in front of everyone that was there helping her get ready for her marriage while her groom waited at the church. The following year, this woman by the name of Josie Ashton actually took it upon herself she quit her job and she donned a wedding dress and she walked from Florida all the way here to New York to raise awareness on the issue of domestic violence. And, we have been part of the movement ever since, every year joining the family of Gladys Ricard and other victims of domestic violence and domestic violence homicides to raise awareness. So that was last Thursday. And then what we're doing now next Wednesday, the 9th, is our 8th annual Shine the Light Against Domestic Violence event. And that is a yearly event that we do. We are part of the Washington Heights and Inwood Domestic Violence, Domestic and Interpersonal Violence Coalition. And we do a similar march, but ours is much shorter. So we walk from 175th Street and Broadway from the Plaza Las Americas. And we will be walking now to 166th Street and Audubon to the plaza there, where we will have a short vigil and community rally. And I invite everyone on this call to please help us spread the word, to please come and join us. The idea is for community passing by to stop and say what's going on here, and we can invite them into the conversation on domestic violence, and also have resources on hand for anyone that might identify as going through an issue and would like some information on how they can get help. So again, that'll be this Wednesday, October the 9th. We start at 5 p.m. at United Palace at the plaza there and walk. And the ceremony usually concludes by 7 p.m. Also, October the 17th is Wear Purple Day. So I encourage everyone to wear purple and to start the conversation on why you're wearing purple and what the color purple means to you. Hopefully no one on this call will ever, or on this meeting will ever identify as a victim of domestic violence, but I assure you that some time in your lifetime, you will come into contact with someone that may be a victim. So it's important that we all have the resources available that we can, impart to people. If you come in contact with anyone who might be going through a situation and doesn't know, what to do, what the process is, please feel free to send them my way. I'm happy to speak to anyone. Because they speak to me does not mean that there's going to be an arrest or, there's going to be law enforcement involvement. But I will give them the information to the best of my knowledge, free of judgment. People are ready when they feel they're ready, when they think it's safe enough for them to come forward and remove themselves from the situation. But it's important that at least they have the information and know, okay, I'm ready to do this, and this is what I was told I can do, and remain safe. I enjoy a wonderful, close working relationship with the DV squad units of both the 3-3 and the 3-4 precinct. And here in our office, we also have a domestic violence project where we reach out to all victims of domestic violence arrests or arraignments from the night before, and just make sure that the victim knows the process. We do a lot of translation of the documents of the court process, orders of protection. We assist them with lock changes, shelter placement, wraparound service all throughout, so that they can, continue on their way to safety. And all the while understanding, this person might go back, or might, there might be another incident, and we just want them to know we're here, and that we support them in whatever decision they make. So please, I hope that you can join us next Wednesday to raise awareness on this issue, and hopefully during my lifetime we'll do away with domestic violence. But in the meantime, we're going to keep fighting the war against it, and it's a worthy war, and I'm proud to be a part of the movement. So I thank you for giving me the space to speak about this. And that is all that we have from the DA's office today.
Thank
But I
you.
think my sister Tanisha has a question.
Right, before she did that, I wanted to acknowledge, obviously, our board members, Tanisha Grant. Thank you for being here. Barbara Fraser, Jumirna Alcobar, Jacob Banis, and who else is there with us? Noemi Diaz. Welcome. First meeting, right? Okay, and yeah, go ahead, Tanisha. I wanted to acknowledge you first. Tanisha, you gotta unmute yourself. There you
Yeah, I got it. Thank you, Chair. So first of all, welcome to all our new board members. Welcome. We're here. We're here for you and to assist you in any way you need. Jocelyn, girl, yes. I just want to say that I always appreciate you. Even though I'm on the board, I am not part of this committee, maybe next year, but I visit these meetings often because public safety is very important in our neighborhoods, and you always show up. I am never worried that you won't be here. And I just wanted to let you know how important that is to us and how much we appreciate that. And, when we talk about domestic violence survivors, I just want to say I'm a domestic violence survivor. I have literally had to go get, what's them things that we get? Restraining orders.
Orders of protection.
I've literally had to leave my home. But it's, I think most people that I know, most women that I know are, right? But it's just something else so it's something that we've survived, and it's something else that we're trying to survive. So a lot of us don't even talk about it. So I just want to say that I really appreciate you. We support you. Let us know if there's anything that you need from us, from the board, and personally. And I'm very sorry that I can't attend the walk next week because I'll be in Houston, but I got you next year, girl. And, just keep us updated on anything that you're doing on that subject.
Yeah, and you'll be there in spirit, and just helping us spread the word would be wonderful. And I see that Fernanda included the flyer in the chat. We also sent it to the community board last week. I'll send it again tomorrow. So that they can also blast it out. But I appreciate your words. Thank you. And listen, it can happen to any one of us. Domestic violence does not know, it transcends all, socioeconomic levels, education levels. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be a judge, you could be a housewife, you could be a police officer, and it's not just women. Men can be victims of
That's what I
domestic
was about to
violence
say.
as
You
well.
could be a man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and sadly, there are not as many resources for men as there are for women, but hopefully that will also change with time. But it's not anything to be ashamed of. Anyone can be a victim, and the important thing is to get the information and get yourself to safety by any means necessary. So no judgments here. Please feel free to send anyone my way.
Thanks, Barbara.
Okay, just a second. Okay, couple things. Number one, how, if a woman or a man, but especially if a woman comes to you and needs to get out of a situation, in other words, more imminent threat, how quickly can you remove her from her situation and get her into a safe place? In other words, a placement, for example, in a shelter, a secure shelter that's secret. And then my next question is, we certainly have many women who are undocumented, and I know that many of these shelters are federally or state funded. Is that an impediment for placing a woman who has document issues in terms of being able to be placed in some kind of shelter or safe place for an ongoing basis? So that's my second thing. And my third is Tanisha, where you said most of us have been victims. I do want to say we have many fine men who are wonderful relationships with women. So let's kind of be careful about most or all of those adverbs. Okay. Anyways, so Jocelyn.
No, I said most women that I know have been affected. So yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Let's get the wording right before we try to tell somebody what they should do. Thank you, Barb.
Yeah. Okay.
So Barbara, both good questions. So in situations where there is imminent threat, we start working. If the person comes to us, we start working to them, especially if the perpetrator has not yet been arrested. We start working to get them placed in a shelter immediately. They're assigned an advocate, social worker right away. And if for whatever reason they're not able to obtain a shelter placement that night, that day, they're placed in an emergency hotel situation. And then we start again the next day trying to get them placed. We don't have our own shelters. We rely on available shelters, but we do have good contacts within the shelter system to try and get somebody placed as soon as possible. If that's not possible, they'll be placed in a hotel for the night until we can resume trying again the next day. In terms of people being undocumented, we don't ask anyone what their immigrant status is in this country. If you're a victim, you're a victim. It doesn't matter whether or not you have documentation. I believe for domestic violence shelter, they're not requiring that. The issue then becomes what services is this person eligible for?
Right.
So they're not eligible for HRA services if they don't have documentation, but if they have children that were born here. So it's a whole process, Barbara. But someone's immigrant status should not deter them from seeking help, because neither the police nor the DA's office asks anyone, are you documented? We're not allowed to, we're not supposed to, no one is. If you're a victim, you're a victim. And the only reason why we would ask someone on their documentation is to see if they qualify for any special immigration type services that might help them get their documentation in order.
Well, the reason I ask is because having dealt with the housing committee and being on that for years, I know that, for example, immigration status is a stumbling block in terms of getting help from legal aid. And in a domestic violence situation, legal aid might be sought. And I've been told many times that undocumented individuals are not eligible for legal aid. So that's what comes up in my mind.
Right, but there's a whole bunch of other legal services that are specifically for undocumented individuals. So yeah, so we have a portfolio of resources that we try and get people connected to as
Okay.
best we can. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Jocelyn. Thank you so much
You're
for
very
your
welcome.
presentation, and the questions were extremely helpful to most of us. Does anyone have any thoughts, any questions from our board members? Noemi, you're more than welcome to opine, and if you just your first meeting, be more than happy to have you. I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but Tanisha knows. Okay, so moving along, we are going to have the 34th presentation. Your assumed name is Daniel Castillo, the CEO, but I'm not sure who he's going to be presenting today.
Hi, good evening. It's Officer Navarrete, Community Affairs 3-4. Still trying to get this squared away in regards to me getting the correct link so I can appear as myself. But yes, I'll be speaking on behalf of the 3-4 for today.
Let me cut you right up for just a second. We would like to acknowledge to those of us who been here like the longest that Detective Fabe retired last week. So those of us who did not know it, I wanted just to kind of like make that announcement. So
Yeah.
sorry. about that.
If I can just interrupt, that Chris Perez and Haiti Pabe did marvelous work for so many years, and you've got big boots to fill, but welcome.
Thank you, Barbara. Yes, Detective Pabe did retire after 25 years of service, 19 of those years being just community affairs. So yes, absolutely big shoes to fill from both Haiti Pabe and Chris Perez. If I may move on to the crime stat numbers in regards to the 3-4 precinct for the 28-day period. We've seen a little increase. Somewhat concerning is in the category of rape, we're 4 versus 1. Those rapes, none of those rapes are stranger rapes, which would be very alarming. We don't have that. In these situations, we know the victim knows who the person is, who the perpetrator is. Out of these 4, 2 arrests were made, and the other 2 cases are still being investigated. Robberies, we've seen a decrease in 18% for the 28-day period. Felony assault a decrease of 32. Burglaries decrease of 16. We've seen a little increase of grand larceny, 42%, attributing to shoplifting and things being stolen from vehicles, not the vehicle itself, but from vehicles inside of them, worth over $1,000. Grand larceny auto is down 15%, and overall for the 28-day period, we're slightly up by 4.8%. In regards to robberies, we have seen an increase in individuals or people fighting back to keep their property. For example, jewelry. People have been, when a person's walking in the street, you get somebody that tries to snatch their chain, and the person initially cannot snatch the chain, but uses force to remove the chain. That would be considered a robbery at that point. So we are advising residents to not have their chain exposed on the exterior of their clothes. Instead of that, to put it inside their outer garment. Don't keep it visibly displayed. Usually, we've seen them when the chains are out. They're going out to nightclubs, or they're going, walking around the dark area. It helps walking in groups if you can, walking around well-lit areas or high traffic areas where a lot of people pass by. That's in regards to robbery. Felony assault, they are down 32%. That is, for now, that is what I have. I do have one notable recent incident that occurred last week, which was graffiti along 181 Street and Fort Washington Avenue, and at the door of an elected official on 181, the congressman's office. It is being investigated. There was some anti-Semitic remarks posted on few lampposts, graffitied, and on subway station, and it's being investigated currently. We have identified the individual that did that. We are in the process of obtaining an identification from them because we really didn't get a good picture of their face. Once that identification comes in and we do have that information, we will move on to making an arrest from that incident. Any questions for the 3-4?
Yes, I have questions.
Barbara, hang on, because I want to give other people an opportunity to
Sure.
speak. You have a question?
Hello, how you doing? So I have two questions. The first one in reference to the grand larceny, you mentioned it was over a 40% increase. Is there like a number that we're going from? Like, is it 1 to 2? Is it 5 occurrences to 10? And then the second question is unrelated, so I'll just wait for the follow-up for that.
Okay, sure. That's a good question. So the grand larcenies, yes, like I said, does attribute to the to shoplifting, the majority, and also things being stolen from within vehicles. That's over $1,000, and it is 54 versus 38. So that's about 16 cases.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And then my second question is, so I manage a nonprofit, and like a week ago, we received a message from a constituent that there was a woman who got punched in the face in Academy and Broadway from I guess either a perpetrator, and I'm not sure if she reported it, but then apparently this gentleman was spotted in the train. So I'm not sure. Have you heard of anything like that?
I haven't heard of that specific incident, but it's very important for anyone, if they are a victim of a crime as such, especially when it's something violent, first and foremost, make sure their health and well-being. Make sure they get they do call 911 to get an ambulance to seek medical attention. Aside from that, if for whatever reason they have not reported that incident and you do have contact with them, please encourage them to contact the 34th precinct to come into the precinct, or they can call 911. They can still file that report if they haven't done so already. I have not heard any specifics in regards to that.
Much for that. I'll follow up with the constituent to verify if she reported it, and if not, then I'll follow up with you on the side.
Of course, yeah, she could definitely still report it if she hasn't. If she hasn't, for whatever reason, please encourage her to do so, because we never know. Maybe this is somebody who is going around doing that, and we want to avoid that and make sure there's nobody else gets hurt.
Thank you.
All right. Barbara, you have a couple of questions here.
Okay, concerning the incident that you just raised, it was all over Facebook. The individual who punched a woman unprovoked in the face, he was then spotted in the 207th Street A train station, and two women somewhat detained him. They were very frightened, called 911. This guy is here. We're under duress, and two officers did come and arrest him, but the women were very upset because the officers didn't exactly hurry to get him, and sort of sauntered over eventually, and were quite upset about the behavior of the officers. I think you should look that up on Facebook. I think it was on Inwood Community Group. And there was a picture of the guy on Inwood Community Group and so forth. I can look it up and I can screenshot it to both you and to Officer Navarrete. There was quite a little back and forth about the whole incident. But basically, the guy was arrested, was identified, and maybe you want to follow up and report back to us and report back to you about what's going on about it. But the woman has some fairly serious head injury at this point. Some sort of concussion or dizziness and so forth. It was a fairly serious head assault. Okay. So moving on. My next thing is this. I live on Hillside Avenue, and I have been reporting on the parking situation on illegal paper plates, cars that don't have any tags on them, like Oklahoma or Texas plates, and they don't have any tags or any registrations, the whole plethora. Every time I report these, within a few hours, usually, it comes back. Like last night, I reported a paper plate, because supposedly this is a big initiative of the 34th and Mayor Adams and so forth, a paper plate that had expired in June 2024, an obvious one. And then it was reported back, case closed, no action necessary. That's always what happens with these paper plates. Another one, which may be sort of a fine line, a car with a Massachusetts plate, no registration and a tag on it, which had expired in 2023. Let me finish,
Barbara.
okay? Yeah.
Well, let me, before you go on, I think for the sake of one time and second that he's not going to remember all those details.
Okay, I will send it to him. Okay, I'm wrapping it up. So I just want to say, I will follow this up with you, but I found that 311 is essentially useless and the officers don't do anything. But I wanted to make this suggestion. On the thing with the tags, with these out-of-state cars that have no tags on them, and then they generally say refer to sanitation, like that it's an abandoned vehicle. Can I suggest that rather than the car still being allowed to zip around the neighborhood or do whatever, can that car be booted until sanitation arrives? Is that legal to do? Because that would then stop the car being allowed to just, frolic around the city unimpeded, rather than just say refer to sanitation. So can you comment on that? Because that would make a big difference if they know they're going to be booted.
Okay, sure. There was a bunch of things, Barbara. I try my best to keep up with the information you're giving me. In regards to paper plates and vehicles not registered being parked on the street, the neighborhood coordination officers, the sergeant keeps a list of locations. So I will be putting my email address, if you don't have it, I will be putting it on the chat. Please email me the location and how many vehicles. I will send to the sergeant. And when they do have that operation to tow vehicles, again, because there are a limited amount of resources in the city when it comes to tow. Depending on what category the vehicle falls under, as you mentioned, sometimes it would have to be sanitation if they're apparently derelict, or maybe if it's abandoned, then it's not, then it would be what we call dark tow. And depending on whether or not the tow is available is if the vehicle will be removed. For example, a 311 call gets put in for a vehicle with paper plates. And for whatever reason, it does categorize as rotation tow, or what we call road tow. Then we have specific tow companies that we have to call. A lot of times these companies do not wish to pick up certain vehicles because they feel that the vehicles will not be getting removed from their location, from their lot, therefore taking up space in their lot. Now, what does NYPD do when certain businesses like that take that action that they're not supposed to take? What we do is we do certain reports to try to get them removed from our rotation tow list. So we are able to get other companies that will in fact tow. Now, that's in regards to Hillside Avenue. And you mentioned some car with Massachusetts plates. So that information, both of the Massachusetts plate and paper plates, if you could please email me that information, I will forward it to the sergeant. And please follow up with me and let me know if it's been done. If it's not been done, it's still there. I want to know. In regards to booting vehicles, to my knowledge, we don't have boots. NYPD, to my knowledge, does not put boots on vehicles. I know that vehicles do get booted for excess fines. I don't know what's the threshold, so I don't have much information in regards to booting. But at a precinct level, here at the 34th precinct, we do not have that. We will not be able to boot a car. If that answers your question, and I hope I covered everything. If I missed something, please let me know.
Sure, but
Yeah.
I'm saying that might be a good suggestion to start.
Yeah.
In other words, that if you have a car that has these either no registration or really expired, tags, out of state tags, that it's going to get booted. That might be a good policy to start. That's what I'm saying. Maybe you could start that suggested up the line.
Absolutely. I mean, we've also looked at, I think another good idea or suggestion or something different to do would be if they were to be able to allocate 2 to 3 tow trucks just to the 34th precinct and have officers here be trained in operating these tow trucks. This way, it avoids time waiting for tows, or if tows are available, this way we would always have a tow truck in the precinct that we could use, not only for that, but for other conditions such as double parkers and all that. That comes with if resources are available. We've tried in the past, but we haven't got any of that.
All right. Thank you, Barbara. Erwin? Been waiting for a minute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Early evening. Quick question. Just the crime stats for Sector A when you get a chance. The breakdown. And I know you have the monthly ones on the website, but if you can get me the Sector A ones, I'd appreciate that, officer.
Sure, I don't have that with me now. But
whenever you get a chance.
Okay, all right,
no rush. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Erwin. Noemi?
Hi, good evening, everyone. In the community 12, thank you for inviting me into this meeting. I am a community board member now, but I'm not from this committee. So I just wanted to say hi to everyone. And one concern that I do want to bring up, I came on behalf of the student government organization from George Washington Education Campus, was that we noticed that the MTA police website lacks information in regards to the coverage of the district, specifically for District 12. So if you pull up the MTA police website, there's information for up to District 11, which covers up to Harlem. And our District 12 doesn't seem to have MTA police information. So the student government wanted to outreach to the precincts to see who are the actual officers that are supposed to be on site, whether it's on the ground and under in the train station. I know we have an understanding that it seems to be that there's a different coverage of the people that are outside versus the people that are down in the train station. So I just wanted to bring that up in this meeting and kind of bring back some answers for the students, if that's possible. Thank you.
Right. Officer, would you like to, maybe Jocelyn or each one of you would have an appropriate answer? I mean, not a full answer, but at least somewhere where we can probably lead through it and try and get an answer to what Nomi is posting as far as the website. Lack of information, to not say that, to say the least.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry. I didn't really catch that. Was that MTA?
Yes, the MTA police website. So it says the new MTA info /agency/MTA police home phones. Then it's a page that has information of district contact information, and it states district 1 through 11, and 11 being Harlem. So District 12 doesn't seem to have information there on the commanding officers, email, address, and phone number and information.
Now, when you say MTA, I just want to, just for clarification, when you're referring to commanding officers, are you referring to commanding officers from NYPD precincts, or you're referring to MTA?
MTA. So this is the MTA police website that they we were just doing research in regards to who would be people that we were to reach out in event of an emergency, right? So when we pulled up the information for our district, within the MTA info agency for police, there is no information for District 12. there.
Okay, so
Um,
that I would suggest reaching out to actually the MTA police, because
Right, right.
in regards to that agency, that is a whole different agency.
Okay.
But just want to clarify a little bit, just in case there's a little bit confusion. There may be confusion. If you're looking to maybe speak to someone or a commanding officer that covers the subway system, the MTA Police Department doesn't have a transit district per se. It would be NYPD Transit District. So that would be Transit District 3, generally covering that area, and they have a commanding officer. But if you are specifically looking for MTA Police and who covers the area specifically from that agency, I would just advise to reach out to the MTA Police, where they will give you the most accurate information.
Okay, is there a number to contact someone for that? Because on the website, it just kind of
Right.
around to like the same pages with the same information of like up until District 12. I mean, up until District 11.
Yeah, no, me, so that I can chime in.
Uh-huh.
If you call the office tomorrow,
Uh-huh.
the district manager, Ebenezer, has the direct contact number for the MTA rep that usually comes to his meetings every month in the district cabinet. So he might be able to help you a little more as far as getting you in the right direction.
I
Getting the right person.
Everyone.
If I can just suggest to Noemi, if you or the school is looking for this information, to put together like contact in case of an emergency for school staff,
Mhm.
I think your best bet would be like Joe said, Transit District 3 are
Mhm.
the police that cover that area.
Okay.
So having a contact with them would be easiest. MTA police, I don't know how they're assigned. I honestly have never seen an MTA policeman uptown. At least I haven't. Maybe someone else has, but I think your best bet for the school purposes would be to make sure you get to know the transit district officers assigned to that station.
Thank you.
Tanisha?
Thank you, Chair. Off mute. Okay, yes. Oh, thank you for your report, 33rd. I don't know where you went.
34th. 34th. You're still
Oh,
there.
34th? Oh, you in the 34th precinct?
Yeah, 34.
No, 34th.
Okay, thank you for report 34th. I was looking for the 33rd. Thank you.
They're about to
Welcome.
join. They're about to join very soon. Sonia, last question before we move on to the 33rd report.
Good
From my
evening,
help to
everyone. Officer Castillo, I was wondering, are residents reporting thefts of side view mirrors on their cars on Laurel Hill?
We haven't had any recent thefts on our side view mirrors. We have taken reports on different areas of side view mirrors, generally speaking, near parks. But most recently, nothing from coming out of Laurel Hill Terrace.
If you drive by Laurel Hill, you'll see like 4 or 5 cars, one behind each other with the protective mittens now that they're extremely costly. I had to buy a pair because I had my mirrors stolen as well. So I believe there's an issue there that needs to be addressed.
Yes. So what we have done in regards to any auto theft, parts thefts, we have gone out there to hand out flyers and make the community aware of these situations. It's a little bit difficult to enforce or to catch these people in the act, only because of the way they commit these crimes, and they do it so much and in so little time. It's hard for us to catch them. And in order to catch them, what we ask for is the community's help. If you hear an alarm go off in the car, or if you see someone hanging out around a car and you feel something's going on, call 911. We also recommend to try to park in well-lit areas. I know it's difficult to find a parking spot, yet alone near a well-lit area. But that is the advice that we do give. Generally speaking, they seek to take things from vehicles or take parts from vehicles where the area or the street is dim.
Okay, for everyone's knowledge, the information for Officer Navarrete is there in the Q&A. His number and the prison's number and his email, just in case, Barbara, you want to contact him directly and send him that information. And I believe you as well. You want to send the I guess the picture that you just showed me. Yeah,
I
obviously.
definitely will, and we'll be in regular touch.
Thank you once again. Thank you, officer, for the report. It's really helpful, and looking forward to see you next month, and keep the crime down. At least we hope so.
Absolutely. Thank you, Barbara. Thanks, everyone.
All right, the 33rd should have been next, but they're having, I guess, lagging issues from the precinct. So we're gonna move on to their next presentation that was so much, especially myself, since I first met you guys a couple of years ago, and what the program that they have is unique in our community. Being islanders, most of us don't even know how to row. So Bob, floor is yours.
Thank you for scheduling this. I'm going to punt. I'm a board member of Harlem River Community Rowing. I'm going to punt to the two other participants here. Joy Heck, who is runs our nonprofit at this time, and James Marson, who is our safety board member. Okay, and they are they're on.
James, do you want to put up the presentation, and then I'll just give the first bit of an intro.
Sure, will do. If you just let me share my screen for a moment.
I don't just have screen sharing, right?
Elementary tech.
And if not, we just give it to them.
We're not there. We could email it to you.
Hang on a second, maybe.
James, are you unable to share, or is it?
Yes, I'll be on in a moment. Sorry, I don't know why it's not cooperating.
Hey, James, we just gave you co-host access so you can share your screen now.
Perfect. Thank you.
I wonder if there's some odd issue. No, that wouldn't make sense.
Sorry, it's booting me out. Never mind. There we go. Got it now.
Got it.
Okay, but now we've got the wrong thing on your screen. Here we go. Okay. You want to put it up there? Okay. So basically, I'll just give you a bit of an overview for those of you who don't know us, of who we are and what we do. We're a nonprofit organization. We've been around since 2006, and we offer adult rowing in Manhattan. Our programs are all free. We are the only rowing program for adults in New York City that's accessible by public transportation and open to anybody. There are some, New York Athletic Club has rowing in New York City, I believe, but you've got to be Olympic caliber, and we're not. So we're run by volunteers. Our coaches are actually paid, because otherwise we wouldn't have coaches, but everybody else is a volunteer. We have rowers who range from total novices, which we call learn to row, the sort of people who have done some rowing but need to build their skills, more advanced rowers, and some people who are rowing competitively this fall. I say rowing competitively. That means we enter races at this stage. It does not mean we win races, unless there's no competition. But we row out of Muscota Marsh in Inwood Hill Park. We store our boats outside of the Columbia Boathouse on a few racks, which if you've hung out in Muscota Marsh, you might have seen them. So they are sitting outside exposed to the elements, unfortunately. As you might be able to tell from the number of boats sitting out there, we're a pretty small operation. We've got about 100 rowers, but we only have 4 boats that we're using to actually row at the moment. We have maybe another boat that needs repairs. And because they're outside, they're a little vulnerable. But that's who we are. Maybe James, you want to take it on to explain what happened last. a week and a half ago now.
So yeah, the Sunday before last, we had one of our more experienced crews out in an 8-oar boat. Just here, you see the blue X in the middle of Spoit and Dival Creek, just by our dock. And that whole area, from the Spoit and Dival Rail Bridge to the Broadway Bridge, is a no-wake zone. Any motorboat passing through there is required to do so at idle speed, both for the protection of users of the dock, which is us, it's the Inwood Canoe and Kayak Club, it's private individuals paddleboarding, and Columbia, but also for the protection of wildlife on Muscota Marsh. So this is what happened. A classic Harbour Line tourist boat passed the dock at high speed, and you can see the picture there. That is the tourist touring yacht Manhattan at full speed. You see it's throwing a tremendous wave. They were rushing to make a scheduled opening of the Spoit and Dival Bridge. They passed by our eight at high speed, and you see below what happened to the 8, because literally you have a 3-foot high wave. The wave took the boat broadside, and the boat slid straight down on its side into the water. So very fortunately, nobody had anything worse than cuts and bruises from this. So we have a dialogue ongoing with Classic Harbour Lines, the operators of the boat. We've made the proper reports to the NYPD Harbour Unit, to the Coast Guard, to the State Boating Authority, and Joy has also spoken to the Harbour Ops Committee about how we can avoid this happening again in future. I think it's worth adding, I've been coaching for 25 years. I've never seen an 8 flip over in open water. These are narrow boats, they're small boats, they're not usually unstable boats.
I've been
So,
rowing.
like, this is pretty rare and pretty shocking.
I've never heard of an 8 flipping in 45 years. So this is very weird.
Yeah, so this, unfortunately, is not an isolated incident. We had another of our boats waked out and flipped over by the Yonkers Police Department boat.
That was quad, which is also a very, that's 4 people, 8 oars. So that's even more stable than an 8, actually. And they were flipped.
Yeah, and it's quite common. It happens sort of every week or so that one of our boats is waked out and doesn't capsize, usually by the privately owned powerboats and jet skis. You know, the commercial boats are a small minority of the boats on the Harlem River, but they're much bigger, they throw a much bigger wash, and they tend to be in a hurry to get where they're going. So there are more and more human-powered boats on the Harlem River. There's now 3 rowing groups. There's the kayaks, the canoes, stand-up paddleboarders, and this is great for the community of Upper Manhattan. It's a real asset that we have. Not just that we have the water, all of New York's got water, but we have accessible water. We have a calm stretch of river. We have big green spaces on the waterfront. We have more and more people wanting to use the rivers as, you know, as a recreational space. But incidents like this really put people off being willing to go on the water, because there's no point taking out any human-powered boat if you're going to be hit by the wash of a big ferry boat. You're just not going to have a good time, even if you aren't going to capsize. So we're kind of looking for your advice. Anything you can suggest we could be doing, dialogues we could be having. How can we make the community of Upper Manhattan safer on the river? And I see Barbara has a question.
Hang on a second before Barbara moves on. Is that it? Is that that's the last part of the presentation, or we guys have,
that's the presentation? Yeah,
presentation. All right, beautiful. Rabbi,
I've never heard a presentation brought to the safety committee for items relating to the water areas outside of our community. So thank you for that. This is so interesting.
Yeah.
I have used the kayaks of the Inwood Hill Canoe Club, which is the entrance over there is on the water on the riverside, not in the marsh area. So maybe that's a little bit safer or whatever else. But I am familiar with the area. But I'm also unsure what to say because we haven't really dealt with any of this before.
Yeah, I was gonna make a comment as to, I guess the first part would be to know the rules of engagement.
Who does this fall? Whose jurisdiction does this
exactly,
fall
the
under?
rules of
We're not gonna go
engagement.
through 33 or 34.
Was the enforcement agency, and once we learn that, then we can move on to educating, and I guess spread the word as to why they do.
There are 2 enforcement agencies according to the law that created the no wake It's NYPD and the Parks Department.
Okay.
And it was, yeah, they're both jointly given enforcement. We can share with you in case you don't happen to have it handy. We do have legislation creating that no wake zone. So if you're kind of looking into wanting to be sure you know who's liable and how it came to be there and stuff, we can share the link to that with you.
Yes, please, if you don't mind sharing that to our office. And also, could you tell us a little bit more about what the no wake zone is exactly?
The no wake zone, basically a no wake zone means that boats are supposed to go at idle speed so that they don't kick out any wake behind them as they're moving along. So it basically means they're supposed to go very slowly. The problem in that location, particularly for the classic Harbor Lines and the Circle Line, is that they have to get through the Spuyten Duyvil Railroad Bridge, and the scheduling on the openings of that bridge is very complex. That bridge basically runs to the requirements of Amtrak and Metro North. I don't think Metro North goes there, maybe they do, I'm not sure, but Amtrak, and maybe there's freight trains there. So, when they've got a train coming through, that the train is not going to stop, that bridge must be closed. So when the boats are coming up the river, they're like, when can we get that bridge opened? And they're not, in principle, they're on kind of a set schedule. Our sense is, the Manhattan, the Manhattan 1 and 2, which is the classic harbor cruises, there's always a boat through at about 11:30 on weekend mornings, but they've sort of said they don't really know when they're going to get there, so they cannot schedule in advance for that bridge to be opened for them. The railroad people, never know whether their trains are going to be on time, but their trains can't stop. The boat will be forced to stop before a train is ever forced to stop. So there's sort of this uncertainty. And what happens is they radio the bridge tells them, we're open now. If you can get here in 5 minutes, you made it through. And they just hit the gas and go. And so they're waking everything out with the wazoo. And their wakes splash over our docks, even if our boats aren't there. Anything on the dock gets washed into the water. It just goes, including a lot of, it's nice, but
So let me
zone is supposed to have no wake at all. And so they're stuck too, frankly. We blame them, but it is never legal to not take responsibility for harm caused by your wake. And our coach, the coach at the time radioed, went on the radio to say what had happened. The people in the Manhattan Cruise Line knew that our aid had flipped and that boat did not stop, even though they knew we flipped. So, they have a difficult situation, but they're still liable and they're still not allowed to do that. Our hope is that we can get more people in the community involved with this and more people in the city and more people aware of it, because it's looking like a complicated process to really negotiate a solution, given, Classic Harbor Cruises did not want to have to just sit for, an hour or whatever and wait for that bridge to be opened either. Now, there is not a problem with the Circle Line boats. The Circle Line boats hang behind us unless they are absolutely sure they can pass us safely, and they do not wake us. So clearly there are ways to, they have the exact same problem. They have to have the bridge open and they're on a schedule too. So clearly there's ways to manage this where they do not have to go barreling through there. And so there's sort of a mix of what is Classic Harbor Lines doing differently, but also how can everybody who is involved, including NYPD and the Parks Department, and perhaps the people from the community board, and also people from the railroad, whoever's involved in managing the bridge and the railroad, and the other people using the water, and the other human-powered boats in the water, which is Row New York in particular, how can we all work together to come up with a viable solution to this, so this never happens again?
Yeah, let me see what Barbara has a question or two.
Well, first of all, I've done a lot of sailing and other things on the water, so I have a little bit more awareness of this or knowledge of this. First of all, the other player in this you haven't mentioned is the Coast Guard. And the Coast Guard is responsible for along the Hudson River from the Statue of Liberty all the way up to Albany. They came last year to the Parks Department, maybe the year before, I don't remember, because the issue of jet skis and other, and I think this harbor cruise people were also brought up. Now, actually, jet skis are illegal, and the Coast Guard said, but their problem in, I guess they're illegal there on the Hudson River. The problem in dealing with that is that they said they had only 3 boats or 3 officers, 3 crews between the Statue of Liberty, the harbor, and up to Albany, and they're to deal with everything from smuggling, accidents, you name it. So they're stretched very thin. But I do think that this has to be brought up to the Coast Guard.
Where Coast Guard runs the Harbor Operations Committee, which I am on. And so I presented.
Okay. All right, but can I finish, please? All right, or should I stop? What do you want? You talk a lot. Okay, then also the other is that I believe that the issue of the, what else was I going to say? Now I forgot the
just
doesn't matter.
So
Doesn't
the
matter.
main point over there was the Coast Guard is another entity to be.
Right. So we have the Coast
Yeah.
Guard.
Oh, the NYPD has
hang on.
has harbor boat.
I'm gonna mute you. Can you repeat that again?
The main point takeaway for us, I think, is to on the list of
Oh yeah, the NYPD has water boats, which they can deploy.
Barbara, hang on.
Saying for the takeaway for the board, I think, was to put on
What?
the list the Coast Guard as another institution to be in touch with for this type of issue. But it might be not if it's on the inside. Maybe that's not their jurisdiction. I don't know.
Well, no, but the main thing is that they said that jet skis are not allowed to be used. That's actually this increasing jet ski traffic is illegal. That was the main thing.
I need to kind of like have a flow to this meeting. Joy, do you have any comments to make to what Barbara was saying and what the Robert was saying, please? Thank you.
Not really, no. We are in the Coast Guard and we're not on the Hudson. So Coast Guard is responsible for the whole harbor, but we're not on the Hudson.
Okay, that's a good point. And also, oh, go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead.
No, I've already spoken.
No, but the point I'm making is if you decrease the number of jet skis by enforcing the Hudson, that helps.
I have to give each and every one of us an opportunity to speak. So Jacob, please.
Thank you. Joy, James, I just wanted to thank you for coming here and sharing this with us. I think we are not often used to thinking about public safety as it relates to the water, but that is very important and very serious, especially in a community district that's bordered on 3 sides by water. So, I want to say that we're taking this very seriously. I think one of the complications here is that there's several different enforcement agencies with like a lot of weird overlapping things. You have the railroad, you have the boats, you have the Coast Guard, you have so many people here. And so I think you guys have done a lot of the right things in reaching out to a lot of the right agencies already. But a question that I had, I don't know that I heard this, is have you reached out to Councilwoman De La Rosa's office about this issue in particular? Because I think when there's a lot of different agencies going head to head, the councilwoman's office can often be quite helpful in sorting out who to go to specifically. Have you reached out to them at all?
As far as I know, we haven't. James, Bob?
We have not as of this time, but we will.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend getting in touch with them just to help with the logistical complexities of everything going on there. And also, sort of a suggestion question to you all from me. I'm sure that this is a relevant issue any time of the year, but I think it would be a really pertinent discussion in the springtime when weather's getting nicer and more people are probably going to be out on the water. And so while we continue to look into how best to follow up on this now, I also want to suggest that this may be something we can revisit more in the springtime ahead of warmer weather to see how we can best get in front of a lot of the people who are going to be out on the water, not just yourselves and fellow rowers, but folks that may be on jet skis, to Barbara's point, but and the busier, tourist boat season as well. So just thinking, way down the line, maybe that's something we can continue this discussion.
How many comments?
I just have to piggyback off what Jacob said and say that thank you for bringing this up to our board. This is very critical for us, especially as your services are geared right here in our neighborhood. And it's a very shared space. So I think that maybe like we can come together to see if there's anything our board could do, maybe a resolution in support with parks where we could help push these share this forward with our elected officials so they can control something, because I think the concept of the schedule with the bridges, that is critical to the flow of everything that your organization runs and everyone else's safety. So maybe this could help, but I'm very much for it. And go ahead, Joy.
Thanks. And Barbara, sorry for talking too much. I know I do.
Disagree, but go ahead. Is your
No.
presentation?
Yeah, but I
I
did talk.
disagree too. I second that.
So the one thing, we are going to be launching a process involving a lot of the stakeholders in this, on this stretch of the river, probably in the next month or so. We're meeting with Classic Harbor Lines next week, but that's specifically to deal with this particular issue and their responsibility and, you know, things that were lost when the boat flipped and damage to the boat and so on. But we want to launch a broader process that will involve everybody who has any role in this, people who are on the water, people who, you know, big boats, little boats, human-powered boats, the bridge, the responsible organizations. We will certainly contact Carmen De La Rosa's office about it. If you folks have any interest in participating in that process, you're more than welcome. If you have lots of other stuff to do and you don't want to participate, we get it. And the other thing I'll just say while I'm here, any of you wants to come and learn to row, let us know. You're welcome.
Or for that matter, if you want to join one of our coaches at a launch and just to see what we do, you're always welcome to do that. We're more than happy to, you know, welcome people on board to just get a better idea of exactly what it is what we do.
Yeah, can you come to the community board and present? That would be great. I don't think people know about this.
About this problem? No.
Not
Are
the
you talking
problem,
about the
no.
general meeting?
Not the problem, what they're doing, their service and.
Yeah, they've been here.
they've been?
Yeah, they've been, yeah. A couple of weeks ago, right, Bob?
I attend Parks and Cultural Affairs on a regular basis in Brazil, and in fact, this coming week from Wednesday, or week from today, excuse me, our monthly meeting, we will be doing a more extensive presentation about Harlem River Community Rowing, its status, situation, what we've been doing this coming year, what do we anticipate to do in the coming years, and reference also these other challenges. So if anyone wants to join that.
Community board meeting too, if you think they'd be interested. We're always
Yeah,
happy.
there will be. Yeah.
I would also suggest the borough president's office to get their insight on this situation.
Yeah.
I've already reached out to them about that, but a more fully contact I will do as a follow-up.
But just having a more holy and robust resolution between both committees, public safety and parks, can usually help and move along the way, at least have a conversation going and get us to have more people involved in this fight. This is, to me, uncharted territories. Rabbi, thank you for bringing that up. Never really had to talk about or discuss anything about, you know, public safety, about water, you know, like this is really, thank you guys for your presentation. It was great. Learning exercise. This is your committee. Anytime you feel like you want to come on board, just give us a call. We'll be here.
Thank you for being so welcoming and concerned. We appreciate it.
We truly are. So thanks again. We're gonna come back to the first part of the meeting because she was not able to get to be present, but now we have her back. This guy is executive officer. Did I say it right? Dania
That's
Castro.
correct. Executive Co-Officer Dania Castro, yes.
Yeah, precinct 33rd. So, Tanisha, here she comes. Get ready. You got
Hello.
it?
Hi all. Sorry I missed the first part of the meeting. I'm Captain Dania Castro. I am the executive officer here to assist the CEO of the precinct, Captain Hernandez. And I missed much of the presentation. but I would not mind attending wherever it is I need to go so I can learn what you guys do. That definitely sounds very interesting. You guys have any questions for me?
We would like to hear your report as far as, the comp stat, and if you feel ready, of course, I'm sure you.
Okay,
See here the latest numbers from the last.
so the
quarter.
latest numbers, pretty much, earlier today, we actually had a death of an infant. So, maybe about 3 hours ago, unfortunately, we had a 1-month-old pass away. It's nothing criminal about it. Unfortunately, we have to go through the steps where we have to investigate. But we did have an infant that passed away in the confines of this command about 3 hours ago. I was out there for that earlier. So other than crimes, what's driving us right now is our grand larcenies of vehicles and of mopeds. So it's happening throughout the command. It's not only isolated to one particular incident. What I do know for sure is on 165 and Riverside Drive, pretty much we have pretty much on your exit off of the Henry Hudson, there was one vehicle that has already been stolen twice. And it's actually an Acura. For some reason, the criminals have a key fob. And we have no cameras at that location. We're trying to get cameras because it's a employee of the hospital who's parked his car there, and somehow someone breaks into his car, takes the car, we track the car to the Bronx, and we cannot prosecute. Well, the district attorney can't prosecute because they're saying, oh, we don't have footage of who's getting in this car, and by the time you go to the Bronx to get the car, the person has already abandoned the vehicle. So we're struggling with that. But we are spiking in vehicle thefts for sure. So it's something that we're trying to pretty much work on getting cameras at certain locations. I cannot tell you what to do exactly to avoid this theft, but Acuras and Honda have been a definite hot commodity for the past, let's say, month or two. We were spiking in burglaries, and now it's mostly grand larcenies of vehicles. As far as moped robberies, we have a task force for the past 2 weeks. Pretty much, we brought our nighttime crew over to the day tours because we had a couple of moped robberies targeting females. So pretty much whoever had a chain on, you will have 2 guys or 1 guy on a moped, and they will drive around, and it's pretty much a crime of opportunity because if they saw a gold chain and it's a female, they thought it was easily, a perfect victim. So we had a couple of those incidents. So now we are putting our resources when it's not just the 3-3, it's the 3-3 and the 3-4, combining our resources, and we're putting cars on the 181st Street bridge, sometimes on 207th Street bridge, which connects Manhattan to the Bronx. And today, actually, maybe the first half of the day tour, which was pretty much by noon till 3 o'clock, there was a car over on 155 and Macomb Stand Bridge. So anywhere where it's going to connect a bridge from the Bronx to Manhattan, we're trying to cover those areas because we think that our perpetrators are coming from the Bronx, going back and forth, and they're pretty much doing chain snatches. That's what we refer to it as. So if you see more presence around the bridges, just know it's that we're trying to target this condition because it seems like they are targeting, women. So if we could put anything out there, please, put your chains away. Everybody wants to have their jewelry, but it's just so easy for them to just get on the sidewalk, drive around, and just, take the jewelry away from females. And again, you could fall, your neck, when they snatch it, you could, it could leave an abrasion to your neck. We don't want to take any chances where someone, for any victim, especially a female, that's being dragged by, people in mopeds.
Wow. Questions? Tanisha, you were eager to see the 33rd.
Yeah, I was, Chair, but I'm tired now.
But thank you for the information, because I have a lot of nice jewelry,
You're
as I
honest.
suppose that other that other members do too. So that's something that I wasn't aware of. So it's good to know, so we can also, notify our community members. But I just want to say, like, there's conditions that lead to this, right? Because chain snatching is something from like back in the day. You know, like your sneakers. Remember, like you
Yeah,
couldn't get on a train with a good pair of sneakers, so you get
yeah,
robbed.
it's
Yeah, so
back.
Chair, we got to see what's going on in our community where, people think that it's okay to do this type of thing. Thank you for your report.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Any more questions? Barbara, Jacob, everyone, drop by. We're good. I think if everyone after an hour starts wearing down, huh?
Another thing, we also, just for the holidays are coming up, the holy holidays. Pretty much we have October 7th coming up as well. I just want to let you guys know that we're also doing visits at the synagogue. We have one synagogue in the compound of the 3-3, and we also have a prayer house. So that's on 610 West 175 and 502 West 168. So expect presence there going forward, especially after, everything that's going on today.
Two things. Preparations for Halloween and staff wise. How are we? Do we have enough staff? Have we been able to at least, have enough to at least be past the threshold, or what are we?
For Halloween?
Not just in general, it's, how many officers do we have on the 33rd? And
Well, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because we got our rookie officers back 3 days ago from the 3-4 precinct. So the summer is over. The weather is cool. We actually have our rookie officers back. We have 7. 7 doesn't seem like a lot, but it's better than what we had. So those 7 officers, they were spread out between the 4 to 12 and the midnight platoon. Going forward, that's gonna help us significantly. Even if it's 7 cops, it still helps us. It gives us an extra, 1 car driving around on the midnight, 1 car driving around on the 4 to 12 tour, and the other one's kind of doing, crime prevention, getting out there to certain
Right.
establishments and promoting safety.
And what are they doing mostly? Foot patrol?
Well, we just got them back 3 days ago. So, and we got them back pretty much at the end of the UN General Assembly week. So some of them were assigned to that, plus their days off were adjusted, but they're gonna be doing either in a car or on certain days, they are gonna be doing, foot posts, high visibility posts. But we did get those 7 cops back.
I think from what you were just saying, your report seems as though the majority of the crime are happening in areas that have high foot traffic, right? Especially with the jewelry snitching and all of this. So would it be, and I'm just suggesting, I'm not a security expert, that would have more presence, more foot patrol presence in these areas? I'm assuming St. Nicholas, Broadway, Amsterdam, especially between the 155 to 178.
Okay, so what we did was, the officers that we did move from the nighttime to cover this condition that we have with the chain snatches, they're from our public safety team. So they are experienced officers, because remember, these guys are on mopeds. So if they have to maneuver, we need our experienced officers to maneuver around, certain areas and to address this. So we have experienced officers, not only from the 3-3, but from the 3-4 addressing this. Our rookies, we're not gonna put them to address this condition that we have. We'll leave it to the more experienced officers. Something that we did consider was actually putting some of the officers either on Broadway, certain times of the week, on the lower end of 159 to 164, or on Audubon Avenue from 170 to 175. So we're trying to figure out, we're doing an analysis of our crimes in those areas to see what would be, where would they be most impactful for the community. Would it be on Audubon Avenue? Because I know we have a lot of double park cars. We have a lot of quality of life issues on Audubon. Or should we put them on Broadway on the lower end of the precinct so that if we do get a moped, someone who's doing surveillance on Broadway on the lower end of the command that wants to do a chain snatching, at least they'll see two cops standing on the corner and they say, you know what, let me go the other way. So that's something that we're doing an analysis on. But for sure, I want you guys to know that we do have experienced officers working on these moped gold chain snatches. We need to get these guys and we need to get them quick.
All right, so we should be wrapping up in about 10 minutes. Our goal is to not overtire our board members with this long meeting, so we should be out by 8 o'clock. So Erwin, one last question, and then we're going to move on to the presentation from our Assistant Chair, Jumina Alcover, on public safety and public health.
Thank you, Chair. Quick question, and this is a little bit for both precincts. Did the 33rd receive those 7 cops back because there was a decrease in overall crime in the 3-4 and an increase in overall crime in the 3-3, or was it simply because the summer's done?
So these officers are assigned to the 3-4 during the summertime. So during our crucial months, which we call summer, summer violence. So we know that in June through maybe end of September, it gets really busy because you have more people outside because of the weather and so forth. And the officers go to the 3-4 precinct because of that. It's not because crime is spiking in one command over the other.
Copy. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Executive Deputy Director. Astro, I just gotta get those titles right. Thank you
It's captain. I'm a captain, but I'm the executive officer, whereas this
for showing up.
Fernandez is the CO, the commanding officer.
Thank you for the effort. So Jumina Alcover is gonna give us that presentation that we've been waiting for. We haven't had a resolution in months.
It's not really a presentation, but it's more of a proposal that I wanted to bring forward to our Public Safety Committee in regards to public health equaling public safety, how they align, how they go hand in hand with one another, especially with the recent resolution that was passed during the general board meeting last month in September, in which the resolution opposing the closure of the inpatient rehabilitation unit at the New York Presbyterian Hospital. And then before we went on summer break during the public session, I'm not too sure if either Health and Environment or Parks and Cultural Affairs put forward a resolution in regards to the AstroTurf or the artificial grass up in Inwood Park. So with these two situations going on, specifically for me, very much concerning the artificial grass, it's very harmful for children, for animals, for our elders, for climate, toxins into the Hudson River and whatnot. Like all these things that affect our livelihood, longevity, health, and wellness here in our community. I figured we can come together to create a resolution that supports public health, aligning it with public safety. So I was pretty much wanted to open the floor for conversation in regards to that, brief conversation, and to see if any folks could join me in helping create that resolution to possibly bring forward in the November meeting, using the month of October to work on it, and then in November, bringing it forward to put it on the floor, see if our general board could vote on it. That's pretty much what I wanted to bring forward.
Yeah, the answer is yes. All we gotta do is just open docket.
Yeah, so it's currently installed already?
Which?
The turf that you.
No, not yet. But they want to install it. Yeah, that's the plan. So we want to stop it.
Park.
Right.
So this would also obviously include the Parks Committee.
Mm-hmm.
They're the most directly, I would assume.
Uh,
They probably have more.
the synthetic turf, I believe that community members have gone to that committee and brought it up. They came to general board and
What did the Parks Department say?
I'm not too sure if the Parks Committee put a resolution for it.
Right, but we need to, I don't know how we couldn't have them part of this.
Yeah, I think it's worth a discussion for sure. And if I can offer like a little bit more of a overview of the TARF. I'm on health and environment.
Oh, because that's the other one.
Yeah,
Right.
which
I
is
think
the
it's
other
three
one.
of us.
Yeah.
It makes it more powerful too.
Yeah.
Three
But just
committees come
a
together.
little background on this issue because it's come up multiple times in multiple committees and
Mhm.
multiple general board meetings even, is it's the current issues that are being brought forth by members of the community are in regards specifically to the project at what is it, Bennett Hill? On Fort Washington.
No, Dykeman Fields, Dykeman
That's the other
Fields.
one, Barbara. I'm getting there if I may. That both have come up. First, it was at Bennett Park, and then most recently, it's the Dykeman soccer fields in Inwood Hill Park.
There's
Which
also soccer field that by the ramp would come off on 175th Street.
Yeah, right there.
By the hybrid in the
Yeah,
front,
yeah,
and I think that has to be synthetic.
It
also.
is synthetic.
Yeah,
It's
so
gorgeous.
specifically, I think concerns were being raised about the Bennett Hill and Dykeman Fields project specifically. And part of the issue here is both of those projects have been in works for years now. And I think Luana referenced this at the general board meeting, that the Parks Committee had discussed this a while back and had, I think, passed a resolution in support of the project. So it's come before the board already. And I think a lot of these projects were delayed by the pandemic to the point that work started much later than they had anticipated. So I don't know what to do with all of that, but I just, having thought a lot about this recently, I think those are all really important pieces of the timeline to, be mindful of. But I do definitely agree, at least I think, any new project should go through either of these committees and think about that. And I love the notion of public health as public safety. I think that's great.
I also think that it should be good practice to bring about the agency that's actually implementing and installing the grass. Just because you want to know more details.
Yeah.
And the content of what it is that they're installing. So that you can have a better educated but decision-making ability as to which.
What are the
direction you're gonna
impacts?
go.
What are
The kind of impacts, health-wise, that you could have. Go ahead.
I have a question, but if the Parks Department passed in favor and there's already one installed, right, in 175, and then they've come in front of the general board, like, isn't it like a little, like, too late? Like, what are we?
Redundant, is that what you're saying?
No, it's too late.
It's
It's
too
late.
late.
Like, would
Okay.
it be like at this, because it seems like that issue is better addressed by other committees, and it seems like they've already addressed it. So why would we focus on that when there's other issues?
Erwin, is that you have your hand raised or?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, before I get to your question.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with asking either the agency and or other committees who have had a word in this, maybe see what the arguments for and against that were proposed previously. Maybe it does seem a little redundant, but it's worth a discussion, I believe. I would definitely like to hear the arguments for the change, the change to AstroTurf, I believe it is. I remember from the general board meeting, I think that's the term that was being used. Just to see why is this being done in the first place? Who's promoting it? What are the arguments for before just taking a stance against it? Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And even more important is to dig through and try and figure out what kind of resolution was passed whenever we choose.
Yeah.
True.
We should have a framework, right? We should have a framework to begin with, so that we're trying to reinvent a wheel that is already been invented. Barbara, last comment, and then you. Jamirna, we close it out.
Yeah, I was on the Parks Committee, have been for years, and I was part of this discussion, about regular grass, AstroTurf. I was arguing always with the Parks Committee about against AstroTurf raising up, and again, I have to think back because again, this whole issue with the Dyckman Fields came up about, I think, almost 5 years ago, a long, long time ago. Because, and what I said was, if you tried to put AstroTurf on the Great Lawn in Central Park, you'd have a public riot. So why are you telling me that that you're going to have AstroTurf on Dyckman Fields, you know? And what they say very glibly is that basically Central Park has this conservancy, they have all this money, and also what they do is that they periodically, regularly close off parts of the field. And if you go there, you will regularly see, you know, the hurricane fencing, the storm fencing over all parts of the field so that they're constantly rotating. And therefore, that's why it doesn't turn into a dust bin. And you can't do that on the Dyckman Fields because it would have to be constantly used for sports, which is why it's always a sort of, you know, dust field, dust bowl. And that it's impossible to maintain it as a active sports field constantly with the natural grass. So
which field was that you guys voted on?
The Dyckman Fields, the northern tip of Dyckman Fields, where the soccer field is. So, and which I also hold very close to my heart because in the late 80s, I personally started the first kids soccer league in Inwood, you know, and that's where we played. And I held the permit on that field for several years. So it's something I'm very familiar with. And that was their argument that, you know, and even, and that the Central Park, and I have the pamphlets on it, had a special kind of multi-layer grass architecture put into the Great Lawn at Central Park, which is also how they maintain it. So basically that was their argument, that you do it that way. So basically the committee was sort of forced to capitulate on that. Now, during this discussion, it was never brought up all of these toxic issues and type thing. And the people that have raised these issues were nowhere to be seen. And one of the problems, which we know as a community board, is that a lot of these complaints and such are Johnny-come-latelys long after these issues are settled. And then they come right at the end after it's all passed through the general board and so forth. If you're so passionate about, these people act so passionate about parks issues, well, where are you every month when we come to these meetings and we discuss these things? Where are you? Where are you? You know? So that's one thing I have to say. So that's what happened. And this thing is already passed in the committee, passed by the general community board, funded by the Parks Department, and is out and was already, I believe, accepted for bid. So I don't know, short of a legal lawsuit coming to stop it, you can't do anything. And as Luana said, you try to stop it, you're not going to have anything. It's going to kill the project, simply kill it. So that's where it stands.
Laura.
So I think something went over everyone's head is the fact that I said public health equals public safety. This is not just about the turf grass. I'm also bringing up the fact that New York Presbyterian Hospital closing these impotent beds, right? We have people with organ transplants, open heart surgery, and then the Presbyterian Hospital wants to close this, and we just put a resolution last month in regards to we don't want that to happen. So what I'm saying with public safety equaling public health and vice versa, this is not just about synthetic grass. It's also about homelessness. Nobody likes to see homeless people on these streets. They worry people, right? So it's like, how do we address that? So there needs to be a way that we align public health with public safety. That's the purpose of putting our brains together to create a resolution that addresses all these long-term issues. Homelessness is scary. People are afraid of addicts in our neighborhoods. We have safe consumption sites. How does that affect general public health? How does that affect public safety? If we see drug users in our streets near our schools, that is a concern. We have the synthetic issue, climate change. How does that align to public safety? So this resolution is bigger than the synthetic grass or anything else that everyone pretty much stuck to. This is addressing the beds, this is addressing the hospital, this is addressing homelessness. So what I'm trying to do is pretty much build a bridge on how we could pretty much talk about that in a way that holds all these agencies accountable, that if we're healthy, we're safe, and if we're safe, we're healthy, that kind of conversation. So I think that's going to require more than, this conversation. So whoever wants to put their brain, volunteer their brain and dig a little deeper into this topic, I'm very much open to do so within this month so that we can come together when our next meeting in November, we bring the resolution here to our committee and then possibly bring it forward during the GB on end of November.
Yeah, I think it requires, and I'm gonna close it out before we'll move on to our small little overview of the expense in the capital budget, is that it requires other committee chairs to also bring it to their committees and do that exercise, that so it becomes collaborative enough that everyone from just about every committee can utilize their expertise and their experiences into bringing in this resolution. This resolution is a little more than just our committee, just very comprehensive in its nature and how it covers so many different touches, so many different other committees, that I think that it'd be a good idea to bring it in front of the executive committee. So
Agreed. Agreed.
So let's just bring that forth as much as we can so that we can start this off. Let it by you, since you brought it up, right?
Should I go to executive committee this
So
one?
to the chair.
All right, so I'll share it with the chair.
Yeah. So
And thank you, Sonia. I got your message.
she's there, I think, still. So we're gonna close it out, and I think we went 7 or 10 minutes ahead of what I was expecting. Our yearly exercise of choosing our expense and capital budget needs. So I wanna do something that I think is a little different in the sense of, I think we want to start from the end and then work our way back. And what do I mean by that? I think that we should all get a copy, and I think you should call the office and have them email you it. A copy of the it's called, the document's name is the Register of Community Board Budget Request.
That's what we put in last
Exactly.
year.
That's what we put in last year. That's what, once we, all the committees, make the decisions of what their priorities will be for the next calendar year, because budgets are approved a year ahead. Then they go to the city council, and then city council then submits it, and they become this document. So what I would like to do is just use what city council approved from last year, see what our committee and the community boards overall actually approved of, and then kind of like work our way back into having, so we have to repeat the same ask over and over again. It'd be not a waste of time, but it'd be redundant. I like that word. So please call the office and have them send you the Register of Community Board Budget Request.
We don't have anything on these yet, or?
No, nothing yet.
Right, typically, our committee does pretty well because everyone should be voting in favor of safety concerns in our community.
Yes.
And in terms of taking precedence on, not that everything is all important, but typically we do pretty well with the rankings. So we don't have anything right now to be proposed to be added to the list.
I think most of us can, and this is exercise I usually like to have folks kind of like do it on their own and just kind of like learn from the past selections of what the priorities were. And then sort of like look at what that list says, and even either modify, add, delete, subtract, and do an arithmetic session with it. Because I don't think that we should be asking for the same issues over and over.
No, all right. So again, so October, we begin the conversation.
Exactly.
November is when we vote as a committee.
There's a special Yes, committee, not the committee of the whole.
No.
There's a special session for the budget approval. That's right.
And that's in November.
That's in November. Is it November, December?
Okay.
I think this is it's right before the elections, is it?
No, I don't.
It's not?
Barbara, would you remember, when did we vote on the expense?
I
budget?
believe I thought it was November.
November.
So it is
I think it's
November.
November.
So it is November.
So, but we don't need to submit anything this month?
No,
as a
no, no,
committee?
No.
We just kind of like present it, and if, especially the new members, if they have any questions, we provide them with the help that's needed. Usually, I had to get help the first year that I joined the board many years ago. So yeah,
Many years ago.
many years ago, it's more than 5. To me, I've never done it in the past 5 years, so this is the longest that I've ever been in a committee. So yes. Any questions, anything that you guys may want to discuss, talk about within the next?
Typically, I think we put things down like getting more patrols, more lights, more visibility, right? Those are usually things that cost money to.
Yeah, and again, you just gotta keep in mind.
Towers, I'm trying to remember the things that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, the difference between expense and capital budget is expense budget is the operating expenses.
No wake zone awareness now.
That, yeah.
We have
The
to talk
capital
about
is 3 to 5 years of expenses.
No, the capital is based on money. The capital is more than, is it, Joseph, is it more than 20,000 something?
I don't remember that.
It's based on years, not on money.
Okay, we disagree. Let's have Ebenezer clarify it for us.
All right.
Okay, there you go. Okay, let's find out. I have an idea, but I don't want to say if I'm not 100%.
But there isn't anything that is less than $20,000 anywhere. Lunch is 20,000. If you use that as a baseline, then we would have it.
Or something, but I thought, well, Ebenezer will clarify it for us. Okay.
All right, folks, I think it's safe to say that we've had a productive meeting, and unless we're gonna call the meeting to order.
Nope, to recess. To end.
Put a motion on the floor to call the meeting to
Yes.
recess.
Anyone would second it, the motion?
Second. Thank you.
All in
everyone.
favor?
Yeah.
Stay safe.